left. Lifelong fulfillment, vision in action. You left. Lifelong fulfillment, vision in action. Live.
Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Vision in Action Live. I'm Jim Boswell, your host for the day. I'm the author of Lifelong Fulfillment, Take Charge of Your Life, its companion website, and this podcast. Joining us today as co-host is Dr. Mary Lemmond, with background in education and personal development. Welcome aboard, Mary. Glad to have you. Our guest today is Christine Howard. She's a transformational mentor, speaker, and reality show host. We'll talk a little bit more about her in just a minute. So for right now, I just want to remind you that on the Vision in Action Live podcast, we focus on expert knowledge and solutions that facilitate individual personal development. These are the expert solutions that allow you to construct and pursue the complete vision of your best life. To do this, we bring experts in every conceivable discipline to our show to help inform your thinking about your own journey to lifelong fulfillment. Welcome, one and all. So as I mentioned, today we have a visit with Christine Howard, a transformational mentor of the frenzied existence, moving to fulfilling flow. She's also the author of Radiant Achievement, both the book and a mobile application, believe it or not. With 25 years of mentor experience, she teaches innovative approaches at the crossroads of being and doing. Very interesting idea. And in venues like Moving Forward While Staying Put, Radiant Romance, My Journey to True Love, and a guest podcast with Christina Davies, Brian Kelly, Cindy Ashton, Jason Thompson, and Anna Lawson, to name a few. So welcome, Ms. Howard. We're very happy to have you on board today.
Thank you, Jim. I'm excited to be here.
Well, that's good. If there's anything I might have missed in the introduction that you think is relevant to today's discussion, feel free to jump in here.
Will do. I feel like you captured it well. I think the thing I would add, and we can definitely weave it into our conversation, is part of what has evolved for me is really guiding people as the mentor and transformational coach to create their radiant reality. Right. So Radiant Achievement really became a foundation in my work after the book was published. And then I continued to evolve, and it really then evolved into this bigger vision, which is creating our radiant reality. So we'll weave that in. I'll weave that in.
Well, great. So one of the discussion points that it really intrigued me is this thing about the strategic model of achievement no longer working. And so maybe that's a good point to kick off the discussion, because I deal in a lot of strategic things and so forth. And so I want to see how that weaves in.
Yes, perfect. And I did read your book, and I so appreciated everything that was part of your journey. And there were definitely some similarities if I look back to when I was younger. And I worked in IT in my early stages of my career, 17 years of information technology. I know the strategic piece, and that really truly became my life, in that everything needed a project plan. I was really stuck so much in thinking, and there's absolutely a time and a place for thinking. But what I saw in my life and many of the people I work with is we so disconnected from what our intuition was telling us, what our heart was telling us. That inner voice, we really pushed it aside because we were taught to make a plan, be strategic. What are other people doing? What are they saying out in the world? And so it became the strategic focus quite often can be so externally based that we lose connection with what really feels right for us. So I'm not saying we don't need some of that, but where are we sourcing from initially? And so I saw in my life, because I had been in this mode of, again, that external, it overwhelmed me. I started to have, so I had so much self-doubt. I would change my mind. And ultimately, I lived in so much stress and overwhelm that it just wasn't working for me. And I've seen this with many of my clients as well.
Right. I have to admit that strategy and authenticity is kind of a difficult balance. So I kind of get your drift there.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. So again, it has a time and a place, but we've I think culturally or in general, a lot of people have just gone way overboard with it being so strategic and not from that inside place as well.
Mhm.
Christine, excuse me, I was also one of those people who lived by strategies, and oh my goodness, the stress was just incredible, affecting my health and my marriage and a few other things. So, how did
Okay.
you make the leap from strategic to radiance?
Yes, that's a great question. And that was really my awakening journey because I had health issues as well. Besides just general stress and anxiety, I ended up with breast cancer. And fortunately, it was stage 0 ductal carcinoma, which was very treatable. And I'm very, in the clear for many years now. And that awakening, though, really helped me to see that I was so out of balance with my life, with my self-care first and foremost for that one. So I started down this journey of extreme self-care where I would take time for myself just to be and take my time for myself for a beach walk or a nap or journaling, whatever that was that really started to fill my cup. I started giving myself time to do that. And as I did that, I of course, I felt better. I felt happier. I felt more relaxed. And the intuition, I started hearing those little voices and the callings and the messages started being a little bit louder for me where I could hear them. And then I started following them, which was a turning point. But then there was the second wake up call, which was the end of my almost 21-year marriage. And that really, when that happened, I dropped all the bags I was carrying for every vision I had for the future.
Right.
The second honeymoon with my husband, what we were going to do in our retirement, and all these plans that I had created in my head. I dropped that bag, all those bags, and said, not only how did I get here so disconnected from what I was really desiring, but more importantly, how do I need to reorient my thoughts, beliefs, and actions so I was really starting to go where I could go on the path I really desired to be on ultimately. And that in that journey of awakening and discovering and letting go is where I started to look at and start to see all the ways I was controlling my life or controlling people or that external life. It really came to light how out of alignment I was with who I authentically was. So little by little, I started spending more and more time listening to the inner voice, listening to the intuition, following it, listening to the mindset, and then even questioning, is this even true? This is what I was told. This is how I was conditioned to believe, but is it even true? And I started to really release so many of those old beliefs and paradigms around life, relationships, career, you name it. Every facet of my life had shifts. And in doing that, the reorientation was from the outside in to the inside out, Mary. And so that is where I started to feel the sparkle in my eyes or see the sparkle in my eyes. My heart started glowing again and the creativity turned back on. The light, really that light switch. And I use this analogy in my book. There was a dimmer and I had turned the dimmer all the way down. And then in this this process of reorientation, I turned that up. So ultimately, it was coming back home to myself, really trusting what my intuition and my inner wisdom was telling me, and then letting that guide my next steps in life. And sometimes that next step was creating a plan.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's okay
Strategic.
too.
So, Christine, for our viewers, what would you say maybe is the first step or first steps that people should take when they're involved in this frenzy and strategic planning and strategic living and not being satisfied or happy? What would we do first?
Yeah.
Soon.
A few steps I would say, or suggestions. Number one is be really compassionate with yourself. This was key for me, to not beat myself up about one more thing, but to really be loving and compassionate. And number two was start to spend time by myself or by yourself. Give yourself, it can be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And just, this is where that B piece comes in, Jim, is just sit and be with yourself and start to listen. What comes up? At first, it could be a lot of fear, that monkey mind could be going crazy, but continue just to be with it. Eventually, you're going to start connecting with that deeper voice. And what are those whispers that have been coming to you? And the third thing through all of this is be in curiosity. Like, what is here for me in this stage and phase of my life, whether you're midlife, whether you're earlier in your life. I know for sure we are constantly getting those little taps or little nudges that are path. So be in curiosity to what is here. And then the last thing would be without thinking about it, without judgment, certainly, is take a small inspired step. One of my powers I teach in my book is inspired action. When we get those hits, what's one little thing you can do? Start small, because it's like building a muscle that we need to build all over again. And those would be the four things to start with. And that time is so precious. We have so undersold the power of stillness. And if we can just have some stillness in our day, we can tap in and see what feels right and what doesn't feel right for us.
Well, I sent for your book. Unfortunately, I won't get it until tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to reading it and finding out more about these steps. And you mentioned the concept of flow, which is one of my personal favorite topics. Tell us how flow interacts with the radiance approach.
Yes, absolutely. To me, flow is a sign that you're living in alignment with what's true for you. And there is this balance of flow is about being open to receive versus always in action. And a perfect example of that is a couple years ago, I decided I had this inspired idea to go spend some time in Spain. I was going to be there for work for a women's retreat. And I said, gosh, I've always wanted to live abroad for a period of time, like a couple months. And I wonder if this would be a good time to do it. So I just started having these little questions pop up. And then serendipitously, I had a phone call with a friend who lives in Spain. And I was just sharing very nonchalantly. And she said, well, I actually have a rental property I bought recently, and maybe you could rent it. And I ended up looking at the property. She sent me photos. It was exactly this quaint little town that I visioned when I had the vision about it, an inspired idea about it. It wasn't that I really thought about it. It was this inspired idea. It was exactly the kind of place. And then everything from there, I was in this very open, relaxed state, and things came to me as much as I did things. So flow is where those synchronicities and serendipity start happening, where you get an idea or a next step, with very little effort and sometimes no effort, it just comes to you. So that's the flow that I speak about when I talk about flow. And it's so fun because things come out of nowhere that help you on that journey and on that path.
It's very true. I think everything I did to get to this point with my initiative has been, oh, well, that sounds like an interesting idea, but I really don't want to do it. And it turned out that, my intuition and my self-knowledge got better as I went along. And then finally it's like, well, yeah, this does feel right. It does feel like something that's me. It's about being as opposed to necessarily doing, and that it has kind of an organic life of its own, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Absolutely. It is very organic. I love that word to describe it. Yes.
So
So,
one of your, I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
no, you go ahead, Mary, please.
Well, this is so fascinating. I love it. One of the things I think that's really hard for a lot of people to do is to trust, as Jim was talking about, those little voices, those nudges, those things. How do we do that? How do we learn what we can trust and how long we should trust it if it doesn't work out right away?
Yeah. Well, so two pieces to that. Number one, I would say again, start small. Our intuition is constantly talking to us, and I hear things. Some people get the gut feel about it. Everybody is a little bit different. So it's really about, here's where the magic is, in the present moment. The more we're just in here, in the now, in the present moment, we can discern, does this feel right for me? It's about, does it feel right, aligned? Does it feel exciting, happy? And if there's fear about it, there could be ego involved, or we could be in our head about it. So it's taking that deep breath and just being in silence and tapping in. And again, start with something small. What intuitively feels right for dinner tonight? Don't go to the restaurant and look at the menu of 25 things and look over and over and over. Just close your eyes and like, what am I craving? What am I desiring? What feels good for me in this moment? Oh, I want some grilled fish. Perfect. Let's look on the menu for grilled fish. So starting small.
Yeah.
And the second thing, and this was huge for me, there are no mistakes.
Mm.
I was raised with think smart, don't make mistakes. It was such a negative thing. If something doesn't work out, it didn't work out. And then what can you learn from it? Jim, I know you were big about that in your book, right? Like, what can we learn from this? Okay, maybe I didn't give myself quite as much time, or sometimes honestly, that's just part of our journey in life to learn a certain lesson. And then we know that for next time. So those would be two things. Like, we need to become kids again, and just think of like we are learning and growing, and it's a whole new playground that we get to play with once we take the big, I'm an adult and I'm like, I got to be right all the time and I don't want to make a mistake. Take that cape off and just be in curiosity, and if you do that, that will serve you very well on this new journey.
Right. The thing that's also interesting is you said a lot of this for you started with an upset in your life, right? A change in your marital circumstances, your health, and that sort of thing. And I find that's very resonant with a lot of people. It's like the wake up call, so to speak, that says, whoa, I got to fix this now, but once I'm done, I'm not the same person. I'm thinking differently. That opens the door to say, I need to get in touch with myself. I need to be more authentic. I need to shed some of the baggage that I've, accumulated over the years. So,
I so agree. I so agree. And I like to, tell people it doesn't have to get to that point, but however you get to that point, it could be a milestone birthday, right? It could be
oh yeah,
like things like I went through. It could be just you can't take one more day at your job where you feel like it's sucking your soul, right? Or whatever that is for you. Everybody, I think people will come to it in their time, in their way, and we can certainly provide information to help people dip into it a little sooner and not get to that point. But again, if that's what it takes for you, then that was your journey.
I had an experience 6 years ago, almost to the week, where I came and visited my sister in Ruidoso, New Mexico for a family reunion. And I had lived in my former city for 50 some years, and I loved it. I was comfortable, but I was bored.
Mm.
And I came here and I'm like, this is my place. And within 3 months, I had moved here. And it's just been a life-changing event for me. And I'm so grateful. And I think this fits into your model. But are there other things that people should look for or be aware of as they're trying to make this transformation? Because sometimes it's difficult.
It's very difficult, and I sometimes I feel like because I'm on the other side of things for for the most part, I still have my growth that I kind of I minimize the angst that we can feel because we've been so in one way to now make that shift. It's not for the faint of heart, but more and more people are like taking that new journey. So other things, um, you know. Self-love is at the foundation of it. That was again a big journey. The first thing I talk about in my book is reclaiming my love and my worth. We've all had our own stories of where we've been hurt in the past, whether it was from childhood or adulthood, and part of that is really reclaiming who that we are worthy. We are worthy to live a joyful, fulfilling life, one that lights us up. And so, to me, that is a cornerstone piece of the work to really dive into. And it can be super uncomfortable because all the old things are going to come up. But and this is what I found too, is when we say yes to something, guess what? It's going to bring up all your old baggage related to that. I keep hitting my microphone. Sorry about that. It's going to bring up the old baggage related to that topic. And just know, because that stuff comes up, it doesn't mean you should stop. It means you're actually on the right path. So there's these little nuances to start to see when you take that journey. It isn't all going to be rainbows. It is going to be that inner stuff. You're going to have to face some of that darkness that you've shoved down.
Okay, I have an off-the-wall techie question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, coming from IT, is that why this Radiant Achievement is a mobile application?
It could be part of it because I do love technology. And so here was one of those interesting things. I knew at some point I would have an app, and I don't know why. It came through me one day that I love certain apps are really helpful in my life. I have a meditation app I use all the time. There's an astrology app I love to use. And so, like, how cool would it be to have my content on an app for people to access when they want, where they want, instead of going out into the, big world of the rabbit holes we can go down on some other platforms. So, yeah, it probably is related to my IT background, Jim.
You're probably the first app I've ever interviewed.
Okay.
Another first.
Another first. I love it.
Yeah.
Christine, there are people, especially around where I live, a lot of retirees, a lot. And it's wonderful. But there are a lot of health problems that people are contending with, long-term things, short-term things. How does a person who's struggling, let's say, with Parkinson's or something like that, have the energy
Mm.
to make the leap from really kind of not a poor me, but this is a lifelong situation. And maybe it won't ever get any better, but how can it get better using your philosophy?
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. My heart goes out to anybody dealing with chronic lifelong issues. And I certainly hold space and respect for that journey that they are facing and don't want to minimize it. But what you said is a key word. And I know I've heard so many stories, and I'll say part of one of my mentors is Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I dove deep for a while into his work with meditation and how supernatural we are in the power of our thoughts, aligning with our emotions. And so, I believe anybody who's open to it can see a new reality even with the physical things that they're dealing with. And so again, coming with curiosity and being open to see, you know, with compassion and love, looking at themselves, and is there something that I've been holding on to? Louise Hay was really big on you can heal your life, and she talked about a back ailment, a knee ailment, a foot ailment, and how there's energy, there's emotions, stuck emotions in our body that are helping, that are part of the manifestation of the health issue. And I know for me with my breast cancer, there were multiple factors, but one of them was I was in so much heartache and pain around my son and my husband for years, and some family things that were going on, it was in that whole breast area. And I truly believe that so much heavy emotions were stuck there, that was part of it for me. So if people are open, I totally encourage reading some of these books on how our emotions, stuck emotions, affect our health, and see if that resonates. Just getting into curiosity and not being in that box of I was given this death sentence, or I was given this,
Yeah.
and now I have to live with it. Be curious, be open. There's so much so many new things around science, and I know, like quantum physics, there's all these worlds of how we are energy and how we can, through our thoughts and our beliefs and our emotions, affect our physiology. So I would say if you're open, get curious and look for some books.
So,
Good idea.
so the seniors clearly, can benefit by what you're saying, and people in mid-career, who reach some kind of a inflection point certainly can do that. Is there a reach into the young adults here? Are
Mm.
you see that in your practice where they get the benefit earlier in their lives about this perspective of being authentic as opposed to being programmed for achievement? Do you,
Hmm.
Christine?
Yeah, here's an interesting thing. I have two adult children, a 29-year-old son and a 30-year-old daughter. And so they've been around me for years, hearing me, well, they certainly saw me go through all of the my awakenings and the changes and the reorientation. So it's interesting. My son, he so says what I say. And I've never sat down and preached to him, but he's very much on and I've seen this in general with my friends' adult kids. Like I think they've seen that generation, right? That was the pushing, overwhelmed, overworked. And so
Mhm.
I think they are coming in like, I don't want to do it that way. So I'm like, what feels right for me? I'm going to be my own person, and kind of take my stand on do my thing. And I certainly see that with my son. And my daughter is she's kind of a blend right now with the two, finding her way with some of the climbing the corporate ladder, but yeah, still really tapping in. But definitely this applies to everybody. I do feel the younger generation is already kind of coming in a little bit more with it,
Mhm.
and probably just with all the social media stuff that's out there, it's a blessing and a curse. But I feel that the more we as adults, and it doesn't matter when we start, the more we can come back to ourselves and really love ourselves, do those things that light us up, it's creating a ripple to everybody we interact with, our kids, our grandkids. I have a 7-year-old granddaughter, and I know she's already kind of tapped into some of this. So, and well, of course she's 7, but it does make a ripple effect. So wherever you're starting, I think is a good place.
Sometimes we call that sowing seeds. We
Mm.
don't often know, even in our interactions with other adults or friends or relatives, we don't know what they're going to pick up from us in our lives. And I think leading by example is such a powerful thing. And congratulations on that.
Thank
I have
you.
a 12-year-old granddaughter, and I see things in her that are so beautiful and wonderful and effervescent, I guess, is
Oh, I
just
love
what
that
you're
word.
talking about. Yeah, yeah,
So beautiful.
yeah. So, in living your new life, what's the best part?
Oh, inner peace.
Ah,
Inner peace. I wake up every day, boy, just grateful for another day and curious on what's going to unfold today. I'll put my list together of here's some key things that I want to focus on. But it is this inner peace. And there's, even if there's a wave of something intense that comes up,
yeah.
I'm at a retreat as I record this with you, and the day I come back from the retreat, I am moving into a new house, a new place. Kind of your story, Mary, of being really guided to make a move. And
Mhm.
so there's these ebbs and flows of busy times, but underneath it all is just this general sense of inner peace.
And energy, you have lots of it.
I do.
That's,
I do, because here's the thing, and I love that you said that. And I've heard this, it was a validation, and I get validations about things in my life through podcasts or something I read. And it talked about we spend so much energy. It's like we're fighting with ourselves. We're fighting with the
mhm.
world when we're trying to control everything and make things happen. And it takes a lot of energy. But when you're
Yeah,
in alignment with yourself, with who you truly are, with your heart, and I even say your soul, and you're living in this place of trust and flow and openness and action, right? But it's more inspired action. You have so much more energy for your day. And
yeah.
so thank you. I think that's a very powerful point to make in our conversation today.
One of the things that we talk about in positive psychology are the 3 gratitudes every day, and people are
Mm.
encouraged to write 3 gratitudes. I find it very helpful. Sometimes I really have to search on a particular day. Maybe it's a cup of coffee, you know. But um, do you do things like that? You mentioned meditation. Do you engage in those kinds of self introversion things?
Absolutely, absolutely. I am a big journaler, and I will absolutely write what I am grateful for. And I also use the word celebration and
Yeah,
celebrating for the day. And it's all kinds of things. And I challenge myself that it's something different every day. And some
yeah,
days I will just write 3, and other days I will pretty much write everything that unfolded in the day as something that I'm grateful for.
yeah,
Absolutely powerful, powerful, beautiful energy that we are creating when we're in gratitude.
yeah.
Yes, love that.
Yeah, that kind of feedback is very comforting to know that we're on the personal right track for each of us.
Yeah. So, what else should we know or think about as we try to embark on a journey similar to yours. I know there's lots of pitfalls, and we've talked about those, but you mentioned feedback, especially positive feedback. What should we look for from other people or places or apps or podcasts? What are some of the hallmark things?
Yeah. And here, well, thank you for that question. And at this retreat, it's interesting because the gals that are here with me, we've been sharing our journeys. We're all on that journey of fulfillment, of really expressing the fullness of who we are and living that life that lights us up. And I see, and Jim, this might go a little bit against some of what you teach, or maybe not, is there isn't a formula. And it is, I see, because I have tapped in and I feel like I need some support, and I'm open, and I find I have a conversation with a friend. I'm like, that's on this journey too, and they recommend a book, and it's that perfect next step for me.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I went to a networking event, and it was all female entrepreneurs. Everybody introduced themselves, what they do, and this one gal did some healing work, and it pinged me in my body. I'm like, oh, that sounds fascinating. And so I did some sessions with her, and that cleared some things for me. So the journey for me, and I open, I invite everybody to be open that it can be this fluid journey of where am I at? And for some people it could be I don't have vision. I don't even have a picture. I don't have clarity. So maybe there's a class on creating a vision, or a book on crafting your vision for your life, type of thing. There's and Jim's book is awesome for that. It's very, very
Yes.
helpful. So it's really all about listening, and what am I in angst about, and then flip it. Okay, so if I'm in angst about this, then flip that to a positive intention, and what might be a next step. If health is a perfect example, where how many of us throughout our lives have had some kind of health journey, like we're not happy with our energy level, our weight, our blood test results. So instead of being in angst about that, say, okay, this is an opportunity for me to reconnect with my body, and whether you look about healthy habits, or whatever that positive intention may be. And then, like, okay, what might be a first step for me? And then just let that path unfold. Sometimes it makes sense to have a plan for it, but other times it truly, for me, has been one thing leads to another, and I don't have to try and plan it all out, which was my old format.
Right.
Right.
So what is next for you?
What is next for me? Yes. Well, this retreat has been a very big element of coming back into stillness and quiet, and getting clarity on that. Because here's a pattern I've seen for myself. Is I do love to digest a lot of information, whether it's from podcasts or a book or classes. And then all of a sudden I'm full, where I'm like, now I'm a little cloudy. So I recently launched, so we talked about radiant achievement. And then in the beginning, I talked about radiant reality. And radiant achievement is really the foundation I've seen that helps you take that journey toward creating and living in your radiant reality. So I launched a few weeks ago a revolution. I call it the Radiant Reality Revolution. And it's really this grassroots movement where I want to really help other people that are feeling the angst and they're not quite sure what it is or what to do with it, to really pause and awaken to the fact that they're probably being called to reorient their life from that outside in to the inside out. So my next step and what I'm excited about is really continuing to tap into what this revolution wants to be and how I can really bring out into the world the fullness of what is here with helping people create their radiant reality.
How do we join you?
Yes, I have a website called radiantrealityrevolution.com. And when you, on that page, it talks about what the revolution is about or the movement's about, and you can join it. I have I call it a manifesto and quick start guide that you'll get via email. And then you're on my newsletter. So I will be talking about in virtual events, in-person events where we can all come together and talk about where are we at and what are we looking to do and how can we collectively move forward in creating our reality, our radiant reality.
Our radiant reality.
Our radiant reality, because we're all creating our reality already, like collectively, right? Individually and then collectively. So, I know everybody really wants the best for themselves and for the world. And it truly does come back to each of us individually taking that journey.
Sounds like it's going to be a great initiative.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
I think a lot of people can benefit by joining your initiative,
Fantastic.
It's tough to open people's eyes, and venues like yours really serve a lot to help get people unstuck and start making some progress.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, this has been a great session. I wish we could talk another 2 hours. I'm sure we would hit a lot more high points, but unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap this up. And so I want to thank the both of you. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Dr. Lemmond, for both joining us today. I'm sure our audience is going to find this very informative. Christine, besides your website, are there any other contact points you want the public to be aware of?
I use my link tree, which I really keep up to date with everything that I'm doing, events as well as my offers and things like that. So Linktree, it's linktr.ee/Christine Marie Howard, and that has a link to my website, to discovery calls, to again events I'm doing. The revolution is on there, so you can also see it that way.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you both. Have yourself a great weekend, and look forward to seeing you again.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's so wonderful being here.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. So that's the end of our episode for today. Again, I want to thank our guest, Ms. Christine Howard, and my co-host, Dr. Mary Lemmond, for making it so meaningful. We hope you got a lot out of it. So thank you for attending. We try and provide these insights so that you can use them on your own personal development plan. Our future episodes will be looking at other things like psychology, divorce, Renaissance and retirement, and other expert solutions. So you'll probably want to stay tuned as those become available. Our podcasts focus on these interviews with subject matter experts and people leading self-directed lives so that you can see examples of exactly what you can achieve doing your own personal development. You can check out newsletters, podcasts, extensive reference materials, all at lifelongfulfillment.com. And all of it's free to you. We're flattered if you use any and all of it. It's well constituted, and I think you'll find it pretty resourceful. You can also find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and your favorite podcast channel, and also now on KFRED Internet Radio. And just to reiterate, I'm Jim Boswell, your host. You can reach me at jim@lifelongfulfillment.com. And the question of the day, until next time, what's your next transition likely to look like? Have a great week, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.
lifelong fulfillment.